This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for The Rant with Barbara Rose Brooker. And today's show is going to be quite interesting because Barbara, who is the founder of agemarch.org, has invited some wonderful women to join us, and we're going to be talking about age appropriate. Nothing's inappropriate anymore, right, Barbara?
We're going to talk about how to be age inappropriate and find your fashion voice at any age.
But I think we should get rid of the word appropriate and inappropriate. We can do what we want to do.
I agree. I totally agree at any age. Thank you, Karen.
Oh, absolutely.
Listeners, all of you who watch The Rant, we have such a treat today. And you know how I feel about ageism. I think ageism has become a cliche. I think that how we dress and look at ourselves has nothing to do with age. It's how we feel about ourselves inside. And again, the only reason I mention my age, for those out there who are my age, 83 or 90 or 95 or 28, who really feel, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm afraid to do this. You're told all the time, that's not age appropriate. You have to be age appropriate. And I always say, you're right, Karen, get rid of the word appropriate. So anyway, we have with us today, and I'm very honored. First, I'll introduce Carolyn Doelling. Am I pronouncing your name right, Karen?
That was perfect. You did a great job.
Good, and look how gorgeous she is.
Oh.
And she is at 70. You know what interested me? And if I don't get everything in, please say it, because I don't do notes. I read all about you. And I thought, oh my God, at 70, after you retired from this huge job, marketing job, you had gone to law school, raised these fabulous children, so forth and so on, you became a model, a fashion model. I can see why.
No kidding, right?
Oh my God. And not only a model, but Carolyn said she wants to dispel this age appropriate notion. She wants women to feel like who they are, be themselves, and not dress according to age. Age, by the way, is not a number in my opinion. It's who you are. We're all going to age. We're all age experts. But anyway, and then we have Stephanie Odell, who I adore, and I think you're wonderful, and she's an age stylist. And you know, usually we get that feeling, stylist, well, I don't want anyone coming in and telling me how to dress and all that sort of thing. That's not the kind of stylist she is. She helps guide you into your own personal being, your own personal fashion voice. You know, we all have dreams inside of us. I mean, I've always had dreams how I really want to look and dress and everything. One thing about the COVID too, it's allowed. I mean, since I've seen you, Stephanie, your hair's grown and look at mine. I mean, I used to have the edge, you know, it's amazing. There's a freedom going on. But Stephanie is a wonderful stylist and has a company called Celebrate the Gray. So I want to ask the question and then jump in. This is going to be a free-for-all jump in. How do you, for example, Carolyn, how do you reach women? And how do you help them find their new selves through fashion, through style, through color?
How do I find them? Well, it's kind of interesting. First of all, let me say I'm so pleased that you asked me to be a part of this.
Oh.
You say you read about me. I read about you and read all your books.
Thank you.
And I'm just very impressed and very honored to be a part of this discussion, this very, very, very important discussion. Yeah, so, well, you know the history, but just kind of briefly, I'm in my 74th year, and a few years back, when I left my wonderful job, I immediately noticed that I was being treated differently. Just not with my friends necessarily, but just kind of walking down the street, I felt invisible. It was almost like the world was saying, you're done. We no longer need your work. We know your kids are gone. And it certainly bothered me to the extent that I felt that I needed to do something about that, because I'm not done. In fact, I balk at people saying that I've retired. No, I've not retired. I've changed, and now I'm reinventing myself. I'm rebooting for the next phase of my life. And I felt so strongly about that I thought, well, I need to do something in my everyday activity to convey that message. And so I immediately realized that, well, and we all realize that fashion and color really do say a lot about who we are. And the message I was receiving from other people about who I was totally incorrect. And so using fashion, and by that I mean just being more fashionable, having more style, showing my style, and then incorporating more color, because the other thing was that I noticed that not only women kind of in my age group, but you know, when you look around at others, there's so little color.
I
Well,
know.
yeah, and I'm not suggesting that it's something that has to be done every day, but I think just recognizing that it's a strategic tool that you have that you can employ when you want.
Yes.
That's a choice. That's a real creative choice that you have every single day that not only conveys to people who you are, but also encourages other people to find their own
So
style.
what you're saying too is you're helping people express themselves and their real inner self and their creative self, which I think is just incredible.
Right. Well,
About that.
well, yes. So, so you asked me how I find them. I find people just by demonstrating in my daily life, and I'm not always colorful like this. Some days I'm not. But that's just being observant and just being having other people observe. But then platforms, you know, I'm learning so much about social media and doing a lot of writing and, you know, pitching my articles with that message to various publications is another way of getting the message out to people.
Yes, I know you're a writer too, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'd like to hear more about that too. But getting your message out is just so incredible. I mean, I'm looking at you and I love the color. It's beautiful. It really is. I think
Thank
a
you.
lot of women, when they're over 50, they're afraid of color. That's when you think, oh my God, I better not wear, you know, like Stephanie has red on today. And Karen, I think, has color on too
No,
today.
I'm
you-
gray.
You're
She's
great today. And I have the black, the gold in the scar.
There's a time and place for all of it.
Yeah, it's also about comfort, right? It's about comfort level. And when it's whatever you're comfortable in. I think, Barbara, your personality is your color and your vibrance that way. But I think women, the color is drawing attention to yourself. And some people, when our bodies change, they don't want to draw attention to that changed body.
Yeah.
So it's this battle within, that's when you're talking about styling, that battle within women of embracing their bodies and their changed shapes possibly, and the visuals that they don't see women represented that are over 50 in advertising. So basically it tells you, like Carolyn was saying, well, I'm not important, I'm invisible. You start to feel invisible.
How do you both change this or help to promote a movement is what I'm saying, where people are not, women particularly, are not defined by age. So through fashion, How do you do this, both of you?
Well, I do it by stalking people like you. I stalked you, Barbara, and Carolyn. Carolyn now is a model for Celebrate the Gray. So I have 30 models, over 30 models, and they're women that came to me, or either I found on Instagram that I said, oh my God, you represent aging with power. You need to be out. Your face needs to be out there. Your story needs to be out there for other women to have something to be inspired by.
How old are your models? What is
in their 80s. I haven't sat down and talked to you about it, but I'd love to have you join the crew. So brands are starting to pay attention. Carolyn does a lot of work with McMullen Shop with Sherry McMullen. And I mean, if you haven't seen the visuals from the fashion show that Carolyn has done there, they're amazing and really redefine what aging looks like.
I saw some of it, and I thought it was amazing, just amazing. And how is it received? How do you find, both of you, that this is received by women? I mean, is it still hard to recruit women from 60 up?
I don't think, no, I have people coming to me saying, I feel great about who I am, and I want other people to see what's possible and not be so driven by the limitations that society places on us about age, but I want to show what the possibilities are. And Caroline's a great example. Barbara, you're a great example of that too. And it's, some women don't have those role models or that confidence. So by seeing other women, what they're doing and how they did it is super empowering.
It is so empowering.
Well,
and Carolyn, you know, not only is it empowering, but I can almost cry when I think of women who are 60 plus, or say 50 up, as I call it, 50 up. And most of them I meet or talk with or come to my writing workshops are really age shamed. They really are. They're so fearful. Their creativity is just sitting inside of them, and they can do this through fashion. It must be so enlightening to see a woman suddenly be thrilled with her new orange off-the-shoulder sweater or something, or a hat, you know.
Well, you know, what the term I use is that fashion and color, they're like really simple solutions to some complex issues.
Yeah.
And the complex issue is that we have all been so ingrained with this idea that at a certain age, and I'm not sure what that is, but that at a certain age at which we do have to be more age appropriate. And so we've internalized it and we believe it until you start to view others kind of debunking that myth. You mentioned McMullen, but oh no, you were asking about how I find that there's like little concentric circles of conveying the message. So my closest friends now all are more inclined to gravitate towards, you know, style and color. Certainly the people at places like McMullen also have, and people, once you do some of those things, like you saw McMullen and then her friends, you know, tell their friends, and now like actually tomorrow, there's a launch of, there's this fashion designer called Tibby, and I spoke with her and she enjoyed the idea. And so on her website, she's gonna promote some photos of me. And that's, you know, like I said, it's a little concentric circle. You start with your group and then that group, and it gets larger.
I love it. So let me ask you, and Stephanie, with these fashion shows, this is very exciting. If you do some of these Zoom shows all over, like I would take one of your fashion shows and I would send it, say, to LA, to any contacts I have, you know, through TV or something like that. and women could actually see the shows. Then like a Tupperware party, could they form their next show? Could they do another show? Let's do a show of Carolyn's colors and Stephanie's fashion attitude. In other words,
That's a great idea. I think it's all about seeing somebody in clothes. I know I'd done 3 shows at Athleta, and they've all been for over 50. And people will walk in and say, well, I can't shop here. And I'm like, wait. And I made sure that the models were size 0 to size 14 or 16. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's what I could look like. It's, you know, some people need that visual. And you, Caroline, in the clothes from McMullen is so empowering, and the power that comes off of her when I see her in those clothes, so helpful for other women to see. So I think it's a fabulous idea.
I think that's what you should do. I mean, I saw you, Carolyn, walking down that runway with the floral strapless dress.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, she's gorgeous. I want to wear a dress like that.
Yeah.
So, in other words, I don't know, you'll have to, I had a podcast with Miss J. Do you know who Miss J is? Miss J was one of the hosts of America's Next Top Model with, what's her name?
Tyra Banks.
Tyra Banks.
Yes, and you remember the show.
Yeah.
He wasn't feeling well that day. He had back problems, but wasn't it amazing that he showed his outfits and was talking very much? He made something out of a tablecloth. Look, Scarlett O'Hara.
Yeah.
With the wind, wore the dress from the drapes, and I've never forgotten that. But I think what you're both doing, I think you're really onto something, because we live in a culture. We live in an anti-age culture where we equate age with appearance. Therefore, the age segregation is disgusting in my book. That's why the term ageism, who cares? There's so many books on ageism. There's so many, you know, talk shows about age and ageism, but you're really doing something. You're showing how you don't have to be your number, whatever it is. You have to.
Barbara, don't you think we sort of bought into that from our parents and our grandparents?
Yes.
I remember my grandmother, she passed away in her 60s. I was 9 years old, but she always looked like an older woman, okay? Yes. And when you look at pictures of her, you would think that she was maybe 90 and she was in her 50s or 60s.
Yes.
My mother taught me to wear what I was comfortable in. Now, my mother was a seamstress, and she always wanted me to wear turquoise and red, and I did as a young kid, but I don't like those colors on me. Mm-hmm. But I like younger fashion, so to speak. So I don't go to a store looking for what should be age appropriate. I go what feels good on me.
But that's you, and that's the way we want women to be.
Right.
I think we have to share that with each other, that it's okay to be who you want to be.
Right. It's hard for women, though. The shaming thing comes into it. I have clients that will say, well, I'm too old to wear this. I'm 50, I can't wear this. And I said, wait, how do you feel in it? Well, I feel great. And let's use an example of shorter skirts that show people's legs. Oh, well, I can't show my legs because I'm over 60. But you have fantastic legs. Like, you should show your legs. Like, who's telling you this? And we're so wrapped up in this, what's appropriate and not appropriate. And it's based on outdated age definitions. Like, when you look at what 60, 70, 80 looked 20 years ago, it looks totally different now. We're healthier, we're living longer. So we can't, we're using outdated role models as what aging looks like. We need to redefine it. We're not even define it.
That's a good point.
Normalize it.
That's a good point. You're normalizing it.
You're normalizing it.
That's a very good point. And don't you think, girls, that we need some legislation against these labels like age appropriate, cougar? I hate it when I'm referred to as an elder. I said, I'm not an elder, I'm a person, I'm a woman. I don't like the terms a senior.
Right.
I don't like labeling people. Of course, that will be a generation. I won't be here, but I think everything we're trying to do is helping to promote a generation where people will be people, and we will blend and merge. That's the dream.
Right.
The dream, and then looking great on top of it. But getting back to you two and what you're doing through modeling, through styling, through and your writing and speaking about it, I really think this is very different from what we call stylists in Hollywood. I've seen that, you know, where they have J-Lo will come in the room and she has 10 stylists dressing her. And so many women think, oh my God, I can't have a stylist. I'm not J-Lo, or I'm not this one, or I'm not that one. I think what you're really doing is guiding people to feel secure about themselves, to find their voice, their authentic voice, and they want to look great. They want
to have permission. I mean, I think people are waiting for that permission. And you see the J-Lo example. It's like, you can't even relate to that.
That's it.
It's about using real faces and authentic stories about aging with power. And Caroline and you, Barbara, are great shining examples of that. Yeah. That are somebody that I could see myself wearing that. I could see myself doing that. I have giving themselves permission to even start thinking about it.
To even think about it. There's two models on TV now that we all see every day. Is it a L'Oreal ad or a Revlon ad? Very hair like Carolyn's, short, silver, gorgeous. I don't even think about age, she says. I forget that.
It's Mae Musk, I think, for CoverGirl.
CoverGirl.
Right.
CoverGirl. And then there's Carmen, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even Carmen is not identifiable because she's so gorgeous and she's had so much work done and she's a fabulous, you know, image, illusion. You're dealing with real women who are, and I'm not saying she's not, but what I'm just saying, you're just in the tip of the iceberg, I think. And I really do. I think this whole, don't you think so, Karen, too? They're on the tip of the iceberg with this.
Absolutely.
This is a way, okay, I have Age March, which my dream is we're going to have thousands around the world virtually celebrating age pride for all ages, ending age discrimination, ending age segregation, ending age racism, ending age shaming and all of that. But you're really touching the physical part of these women. I mean, they're going to come to the march in high heels.
If they're comfortable, that's what they want. They can do that.
You know what I mean? Whatever they feel, not just for Halloween and not just, you know, but all the time. And they don't have to buy a lot of clothes either. You can have very few things.
Well, I think, Caroline, you see these extremes. You see the advanced style, the Ari Cohen advanced style, which they're fabulous women in New York, but it's almost so unattainable. And then you don't see the middle ground, where I think, Caroline, don't you think that you're representing more the middle ground of approachable fashion and approachable styling for women to think about how I can be modern and feel comfortable still. They don't want to be so extreme that it's super uncomfortable. If you're comfortable, you're confident. This is what I always say to people. And you can tell how confident Caroline is in her clothes.
Yes.
And that's what women want, but they don't have great role models. So
well, I'm glad you used that term. That's how I view myself, in fact, I speak of myself as being a model, yes, but I'm a role model.
Yeah.
And that just means that I am authentic. I'm a person, I say a beautiful person, but kind of average. I'm not 20 years old and I don't, weigh 110 pounds. So I'm more in line with what you would see. And I wanted to say to you, Barbara, about the movement. Yes. I think you're right. I think on two fronts. First of all, there's this burgeoning wave, of of people of age coming who really do not aspire to be 20 years old. We are happy, just comfortable in our own skin. But the other thing I think that's happening, which has been my personal experience, is that the 30-year-olds are very, very impressed with what I'm doing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And they are the ones you really want to reach about the idea of who can represent vigor and who can represent, be representative in ads and, on a runway. I happen to have a couple of 34-year-old children. And so their friends are just bowled over by the fact that I'm doing what I'm doing. It's just so much out of the norm. And so they tell their moms and their aunts and their grandmoms. And so I think the movement could potentially happen on two different fronts. And that is the population of us growing at such rapid rate. And then also the younger people who see what's possible.
Yeah.
I love that because we're coming together. We're coming together and we're not divided in our generations. We've crossed generations. And I think that's what you're helping women do is cross those generations. Like you, I have friends of all ages in their 90s, in their 20s, in their 30s. And there's no division, and they love, in other words, Carolyn, somebody sees you at a fashion show and they think, I want everything she's wearing. I want to do that. So what is the next step? What happens next? Do they go and do they contact you, or do you help them get to Stephanie, or how does this work?
How does a person get the fashion, or how do they?
Yeah. Like I love what you're wearing, for example, and I think, gee, you know something? I feel like some color, and I know what my colors are. I love fuchsia and dark greens, and that kind of thing. So, what would be the next step? Would I go to Stephanie? Would I go to you, or do I go to both of you, or how do we see you?
Yeah, so that's it depends question. So definitely Stephanie she's brilliant in the consulting that she provides for women. So that's certainly a first step. If I'm wearing McMullen, then of course you're gonna go to her store. Those are not my clothes.
Right.
The outfit that I have on now.
Everybody look at her outfit. I love the fit. Oh,
wow.
It looks like it was painted, like somebody painted this.
Is it a top and bottom?
Yeah.
It's a full skirt.
Top and bottom. That is fantastic.
And it's got all these wonderful faces painted on it. So if I want attention, I wear this,
Who's that by? Who's that by, Carolyn?
I have no idea. It was a fast fashion store. I just happened in and liked it. And I was on my way to London and I said, let me do something.
You know what, Carolyn? You know what, Carolyn and Stephanie and Karen? During the COVID, of course, we're all pretty isolated. I mean, I am. I outside of going to Walgreens to pick up my meds, I don't go out. So that's why the hair got so long. So what I've noticed, a lot of women are saying, oh, I love my long hair, or, oh, I'm experimenting with this. I mean, this is a time, I believe, that what we said before, for you girls to have these fashion shows, you could have virtual shows, and then get like aging movie stars. Like, because I have, I'm not bragging because nothing's gone through, because now with the COVID, I'll probably be dead when it happens, but I do have a development deal on one of my books for a TV series. So the women that have chosen are 60 plus. you know, from Goldie Hawn, Meg Ryan, there's a whole canopy of these women. If you had these virtual shows and Carolyn's modeling these clothes, Stephanie is styling these clothes, I think this could be incredible. And what if part of the proceeds, not charging a lot, but part of the proceeds for these shows went to Black Lives Matter? And to bring in every age, every race, every gender, every sexuality into fashion, because ageism is such a disease within all communities. It truly, truly is.
Well, don't you think that's because everybody ages? It's you know, there's racism, there's you know, gender is, you know, all there's all kinds, but we all age. We're all getting older. So it's, Carolyn, I think you're right about this small steps. It's these hundreds of different people that are doing important work in the arena, Barbara and Caroline both being two of them. But it's about these small steps that are going to add up to bigger changes.
They will add up, and these are steps that you can do. I mean, look at the ageism. They're talking about Joe Biden like he's 105.
Right.
And what is he, 70 something? Who cares?
Right. 78, I think.
Yes, I mean, we live in an anti-age culture that I think is antiquated, and I think it's sad and disgusting. Don't even get me started.
Well, can I ask a question though about
yes,
why in America do we have such ageism versus Europe?
I know.
Is it more because culturally the family is more connected and together longer, so there's more interaction with older people and there's more respect? I'm always so curious about. I
think it's more age attitude in our country. We're a country who worships money. And everyone else is, you know, pushed aside. Entertainment, movies, you know, now they're talking in the billions, and there's all these little apartments. And whereas in Europe, I think artistically as well, they're way ahead of us. I think the women, my son-in-law and my daughter took me to Paris 2 years ago. I had never been. And I remember sitting at lunch in the museums and everything and seeing older women who had their lines and had their, you know, and had a beautiful, colorful scarf on and, you know, their baguette, and they looked so gorgeous. Whereas here in America, women in their 20s and 30s are mutilating themselves.
Think about this, Barbara.
The media.
Well, our media is doing it to us. We've talked about this
every day. I hear, you know, God forbid.
We've talked about this before, that the media has gotten us to think young, okay? And if you even look at some of the commercials, and I'll use it, for instance, like for Viagra or something like that, the couples they use are picture perfect. They look young, okay? And my husband and I laugh about it because he says to me, oh, in order to take Cialis, we have to look like that and we have to sit in separate bathtubs and hold hands. And that's the image that we give ourselves. And, you know, I refuse to fall into that. Okay.
Well, it's 24 hours a day that they're selling anti-age serums and everything. And I'm not against product. I'm not saying I'm against product. I use moisturizer and stuff, but I am against the message. That's really what's very sad to me.
And I think what Carolyn and, you know, what you're offering, Carolyn, just looking at you, okay, I now want to go online and find something in turquoise. Where? Okay, because I've been running away from those colors, but you know, I'm not sure why, but I love how you look at it. So now I have to figure out how I would look in it.
Yeah, you should look at her Instagram if you want to be inspired. I mean, I think that's a really great place too for people to get started, is looking at Instagram and following people, just putting in over 50, over 60, over 70, whatever it may be. And there's so many women that are just beautifully displaying their self, not their age, but just how beautiful they are and how confident they are. And I agree with Caroline, the younger generation is being inspired. I have a 20-year-old daughter that looks at aging completely different than I do, than my mother does. She sees people and is inspired by who they are, not what age they are, like what they're doing. And I think that's the beauty of highlighting people like Caroline and Barbara, are people that are real people, and their stories are as empowering as their visual picture of themselves. Like, yes, we can look at Caroline and say, oh my God, you're so beautiful and color looks so great, but your story is even more powerful than what we see. And that's needed as much as a visual is, I think.
I think you're right. And I think that you've crossed generations, all of you. And that's important. Women in history, and see we're crossing generations by these steps. So the next step then would be, see, I'm serious. I really hope you do just your own, like.
Well, we definitely need to do a over 50 age fashion show at McMullen featuring you, Carolyn. I've been talking to Sherry about that, and maybe we'll do it virtually, because it's the power of seeing someone that's your age that you can identify with in modern styling is so impactful for women. Not to be caught up in the Talbots or the Eddie Bauer, or nothing wrong with those brands, but that's the only few examples that you see an older woman actually even used in the styling. So then you think, that's all I can wear.
I know. The blazer, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the blazer, but they think it's all they can wear.
Right.
Or the very affluent older women where, you know, they're carrying this big $15,000 Birkin purse.
Yeah.
And a blazer, and they think it's fashion. It's not.
But it's being told by them, right? There's some visual that they're given.
Yeah.
And I think too that you have this wardrobe that was probably styled on your younger body. If you had a career and now you've gone through menopause, your kids have left, maybe you're not working any longer, does that wardrobe still match your lifestyle?
Yeah.
And where do you even go to begin to change your wardrobe or update your wardrobe without any visuals to cue you? Yeah. It's really hard. So it's Caroline's work and other women that are online that are wearing J. Crew, and they're wearing Banana, and they're wearing Athleta, and they're styling it modern and redefining what brands are available to you. Because if you don't see yourself represented, you don't shop there.
Michelle Obama
was huge. She made a huge change for fashion.
And I just think it's so important, the work you're doing. And let's say that the next step, oh girls, I'm trying to think, I have all these ideas. Oh my God, I just think what you're doing. Are you, one more question, Carolyn. You're writing articles about this subject, and you're publishing the articles.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, that was my foray into the modeling, was writing about refusing to be invisible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that struck a chord with, of course, the AARP, and they published it. And then the next one was how I became a model at 73. And that, of course, they piqued their interest, so they did it again. I'm also on a crusade about wearing your natural gray hair.
Which I love. But you're so lucky. Look at the mine is just getting like, my mother had this hair till she was 80. No one got gray, and I have gray, but it's underneath. It's not like yours.
Your hair looks beautiful.
Yours is gorgeous.
But it's actually one of the most liberating things I've ever done in my life. After 65 or so years of coloring, perming, straightening.
Silly. Well, I love Stephanie's title, Celebrate the Gray. I think
well, and I do have gray. I've never dyed my hair, so I'm fortunate in that way.
Sometimes colored hair doesn't get gray. Well, I can't tell you what an absolute, and I really mean this from the heart, because as Karen has allowed me to do these podcasts, I'm learning a lot. I don't love them all.
You're doing a fantastic job. I think we're
You
all
really
doing,
are, 'cause
I
I
think
love people.
we're all
I
doing,
think yes, we're doing something for the ageism. In fact, I would love it if you would come on again. I really would, to continue this subject and the possibilities of it and the legislation and what the women did in the women's movement, going all the way back to, Gloria Steinem and the sit-ins to legislate. I think we need to do more of it, more of it. So when I leave the planet, I expect you girls to be taking over. And Carolyn and Stephanie has already endorsed agemarch.org, and I would love Carolyn to endorse agemarch.org and to be a prominent person in this movement.
In our virtual age march.
In our virtual age
Yeah.
march.
Okay.
We don't have a date yet. We don't have a date yet, but we will. We're getting people from all over the country signing up right now.
I will indeed. I checked out the website. I love what you're doing. Love what you're doing, Barbara. Karen.
Thank you so much. I love what you're doing, and I think you're wonderful personally. You're a star, and you're helping a lot of women. And so where can we reach you? Tell the listeners where we can reach each of you, and then I'll let you go.
well, you can reach me at Celebrate the Gray with an A, .com is my website, and then celebratethegray@gmail.com is my email address.
Okay. And Carolyn?
And my email is Carolyn Doelling. So that's my first and last name, CarolynDoelling @gmail.com. But I also encourage you to check out the Instagram, because that gets updated and, with little messages and photos. And that's at Doelling, Doelling, Carolyn, Carolyn. So just backwards. But yeah, do check that out. I'm finding that is really quite a helpful resource in connecting with other people, learning what others are doing, and just getting the message to people in the fashion world, in the photography world, because I'm really surprised at how effective it is. And once you get followers and it's just a pretty amazing tool, an amazing platform.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's probably the most powerful platform that I've been able to access the community. And I have to say, it is a community. It's this collaboration of coming together and making the message louder. And the women that I've met have been incredible and generous with their time. Barbara, you were one of the ones that started being so generous with your time and energy, and that's what it's going to take. Women of all ages coming together to make this change for women. And I say women versus women and men, because I think women tend to get the short end of the stick, and
I agree.
Start to get shamed for hair color and size. Your size has changed and you're not good enough, and we need to just change all that. And it takes a large community to do that.
It does. And I thank you both so much, not only for your time today, but for the work you're doing. And I wish you all blessings and safety. And I would really love to, Karen, I would love to do another show.
I think we need to do a fashion show.
Oh, that would be fantastic. We should do. Absolutely.
I think, these two women are at the helm of change, really.
Well,
so thank
you know what? For the fashion show, Barbara, maybe they can give us some ideas what we should change.
Exactly.
I would love it. I would love it.
Show you the hat. Okay.
Oh.
Nice.
No, I love that on you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes I put a big red flower on it.
Very nice.
Very
That's
polished.
beautiful. I think that's the beauty of vintage pieces too. That was something I would toy between the sexy, being age inappropriate with sexy, or vintage. I think women have these beautiful vintage jewelry and hats and clothes, and how do you incorporate that into a more modern look is,
And mixing it up.
yeah, and mixing it up. And it's so powerful to have a piece that means something to you, but then put it with a jean, or put it, you know, with a white t-shirt, or, you know, to modernize the look of it is super empowering.
Love that. Karen, let's do a show called Mixing It Up.
I love that.
And well, you know, people at home, they can go rummage and get out their silk flowers and their
Yeah,
yeah, I think that'd be
We
great.
can do that.
Right. Great idea.
that's great.
I'm now going to go into my closet and mix things up.
Oh, I have a lot of sleep.
I appreciate it.
I only see the neat part of my apartment right now. But thank you both very much.
Tell everybody where they can reach you, Barbara.
You can reach me, listeners, at, and I'm very available, at Barbara Rose Brooker, BROOKER.com. It's my website. And you can also reach me at BARBARROS as in Sam, E at AOL.com. And you can see my latest novel, Love Sometimes, which is about ageism in Hollywood and the networks. And that's in all the bookstores, and it's on Amazon right now. It came out right before the COVID, when everything just shut down. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure, and keep doing all the great work you're doing, both of you.
Well, we appreciate everybody. Stay safe, wear your mask, make it fashionable. And happy to you too.
Show. That'll be
Yeah.
a good show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You
You
too.
too.